Welcome to the Fat Guys with Smokers podcast. I'm Mike.
And I'm John. We're a couple of overweight barbecue enthusiasts trying to share our love for sweet and smoky food with the world.
Thanks for hanging out with us as we talk about life, share recipes, successes, and failures that have all led to our love of cooking outdoors.
Hey, howdy, hey.
I don't know if I can do that ending there.
Hey. What's going on, everybody?
Oh,
Here in the pit.
the pit. Dude, the pit's getting some upgrades. I'm not going to lie. I am muy pleased with said upgrades.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of things happening in my life, none of which are good for me financially.
Nice.
Amazon has fully dialed in on what makes John click buy now.
Well done, Amazon.
Such as our new neon barbecue sign. There was one of a pig that I went back and forth several times. I decided the colors on this one would work a little better. So
if you're listening and you're not watching on YouTube, first of all, you should watch on YouTube because it's hopefully going to be a little more entertaining.
it's a whole new experience.
It is.
We've got
It's
the
kinda
computer
nice.
now. We've got quite the setup going on. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited about it.
John has purchased a neon sign that says barbecue with a couple of silhouettes of plus size women in provocative poses. So I don't know how Haley signed off on this, but I think it's very on brand for the podcast. So
I'm not even going to correct that because I just want people to get on YouTube. And where's the subscribe button? It's normally like right down here, right? Click
that
the
area,
subscribe.
that region over there.
Subscribe, people. We need you.
Yep.
Yeah. Mike, I'm just realizing you've got a new cup too.
Yeah. Dude, I had a Stanley. Call me a basic white mom if you want to. I really liked my Stanley. It kept my pop fizzy and cold. And then I got a couple knockoffs. And within, I think on the same day, I broke both of them. One of them was given to me by the school district as like a Christmas present. But it was a knockoff. And the lid busted. So it's not, I mean,
What?
my Stanley's handle busted. And it still works, but it's obviously harder to carry around. And then that knockoff, like I dropped it off of the table and the lid just like exploded on me. And the other one, I can't remember if I was just taking it off or something and it just cracked. So yeah, so this is a hydro jug. We'll see how it goes.
Looks cool.
I was in Al's and Whitney said, "Hey, so-and-so said that's a good one. You want to try it?" And I said, yeah, whatever. So.
Does it have the bendy? Does that straw bend down and
Yeah,
close?
so it seals. Apparently it's better than a Stanley because it seals. I don't know if I like it better, but I was pretty partial to my OG Stanley
Nice.
that I got. So
Well, and I continue to not care about the environment, burning hydrocarbons on a regular basis and using styrofoam cups.
let's be honest, refills are usually cheaper in other places, so that's what I go for. I think the environment's going to be fine. So
I do have my refillable mug. It's at the office.
That's fair.
So, anyways, that was a total tangent.
yeah.
So
Hey everybody, if you're still here, thank
if you're
you.
still hanging
Thanks
out
for
with us,
John, let's talk about our hats, man.
I know we're
Repping the hat. Maybe that's a phone thing. We're just saying.
We said we weren't going to do this, but
Yeah.
I think we're going to do this.
So we got some hats. We talked about this on the live show last week. And me and John went in and designed these bad boys. And I'll be honest, I have a big head. I have a giant head. And these fit like a glove. Like a lot of those snapbacks that are really popular, I'm on like one little peg and I'll wrap tape around it so it doesn't explode on me. And this is kind of like what did he call this? Like a flex snap thing. But it fits pretty comfortable. So
I'm not going to be able to do the hat thing.
that's okay. People can get on YouTube and look.
We'll
describe it. There are two silhouettes of plus size women. Just kidding. There are no silhouettes of plus size women.
Just plus size men.
It's just our logo. But it's pretty cool. We got black and gray. I think it's a little like smoky.
I do.
I like it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So
Yeah.
check it out. We still first run, if you comment on this episode or DM us referencing this episode, and we still have first run hats, $20, which honestly for a hat, $20 is a screaming deal.
It really is. Sadly, nowadays, that's a pretty good deal.
After that, they will probably be $25 to $30.
Yeah, once they go viral, we've got a supply and demand, you know.
Yep. So a little bit of a special deal for people that are dedicated listeners, which we appreciate and appreciate the comments and feedback we get. And shipping is extra. So hit us up in the comments and we'll get you taken care of with a sweet hat.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I've had it on for, I mean, they just delivered them today. I've had it on for maybe 30 minutes. It's probably one of my favorite fitting hats, at least.
Yeah.
For my massive head.
Yeah, I'm the same way. When it says one size fits most, I am not most men.
No.
So I don't buy snapback hats typically, but this one, yeah, I've had it on since I picked them up at about 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's
pretty awesome. Pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
So hit us up. How do people hit us up? They email us or comment?
Comment, email us, fatguyswithsmokers@gmail.com. DM us on Instagram.
Instagram, yeah.
Hit us up on Facebook. If you're listening to this, there's a high probability you have my cell phone number or Mike's cell phone number.
I was going to say.
Or one of our wives' phone numbers. So
I was going to say shipping probably won't be a huge problem for most of you since you are either our family or close friends that live nearby. So
we just want the love.
Yeah.
All right. With that, speaking of the love.
Oh, dude.
Michael. I feel it's only appropriate that I use your given name.
Yeah, please
as
do.
we start this.
Oh, yeah. You want me to just do it then?
Why don't you give us a lead-in and tell us what
story.
we've got here.
The other day, I was showing my wife ChatGPT. I really we've used it a little bit for the podcast. ChatGPT is not a sponsor yet.
Dude, if we could get Elon.
Tesla and Fat Guys With Smokers. Anyway, I was showing her how it worked. She's like, I've actually never seen it. Like, I've heard you talk about it. I love it because it writes lesson plans for me, so I don't have to. But she said, first she said, tell me a joke, and it spit out some stupid joke. And then she said, write me a poem, a love Valentine's Day poem about smokers and smoking meat. And I'll be honest, it strikes you right in the feels. All right, so if you're driving, you might want to pull over for this one because it's gonna get steamy. So
I wish we had more cameras in here so that I could pan one of them in right on your face.
Ooh.
Maybe like a red filter.
Here's a story. I'm going to try to do this in a sensual manner, but I'm also fighting a cold since the air in Cache Valley is rebelling against all of us. So it's not going to be beautiful. Are we ready?
I'm prepared.
All right. Everybody, hopefully you had a chance to pull over. Signal, mirror, and head check. Pull over safely to the side of the road.
Put the car in park.
Put the car in park. Park brake is optional, but recommended. In the heart of a backyard where smoke dances free stands a smoker, a vessel of culinary glee. With coals aglow and savory scents in the air, I once thought it held the greatest love to share. But then, in the soft glow of evening's embrace, I see her, my wife, with her radiant grace. In her eyes, a warmth that outshines the fire's gleam, and in her touch, a love beyond any dream. For though the smoker may craft meals of delight, it pales compared to her presence each night. Her laughter, a melody sweeter than any dish. Her love, an eternal flame, my heart's cherished wish. So let the smoker sizzle and the embers burn low. For in her love I found the greatest glow. She's the true flavor of life, my heart's sweetest song, my wife, my love, where I truly belong. Right? Freaking AI wrote that.
Damn, son.
Yeah, well, I told you. That's why I told people you need to pull over. She put it in. I can't remember where I went. Maybe to go to the bathroom or something. I came back out my computer, and this is what was on it. And I was like, what is this? And she just started laughing hysterically. So, Whitney, thank you, babe, for that stunning piece of literary magic that artificial intelligence has blessed us with this night.
Oh.
Yeah.
And with that, public service announcement. Valentine's Day is 1 week. No, we got 2 weeks. Whew.
2 weeks.
Whew.
Yeah,
Whew.
yeah, me sweating over here.
I almost had a panic
I was
attack.
already hot after the poem, and then I was like, oh, crap.
2 weeks from today when we're recording, but you'll have a week and 6 days. That means there's still time for Amazon boys.
There we go. Gentlemen, make plans.
I almost wonder if I could get T-shirts with that poem printed on the back of it, done fast enough.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow.
That's pretty hot. Yeah, it was pretty intense.
I'm not even going to ask you how the rest of the night went after that.
It did not go that way. I wish, but, you know.
Oh.
Kids, everybody. Nature's greatest contraceptive devices.
Oh. There's a joke I want to make, but
We gotta stay in the family clean category of the podcast realm.
yeah, I know. I don't want to check mark on the YouTube account. Further proof, ChatGPT will not only save your job, but can also light a fire within your marriage.
Hey-o. Hey, howdy, hey.
Hey, howdy, hey.
Hey, howdy, hey.
I don't think it was
getting worse.
quite that.
Yeah,
that
you're right.
bad
I
at
made
the
it worse.
beginning.
All right,
Let's
John.
talk.
Let's do something barbecue.
I was gonna say let's talk about brisket.
Let's do something we know stuff about.
Brisket is about as much of a man's meat as you can ever get to.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
And I just happened to cook maybe the greatest brisket of my entire life this weekend.
Yeah, you were telling me about this. I'm very excited for this rundown.
Yeah, so it was a huge brisket. It had a massive fat cap on it.
Where did you acquire said brisket?
It was a prime brisket from Costco that has been in my freezer for at least 4 months.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so I picked one up. It was probably like a 17-pound brisket.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
I bet I took 2 to 2.5 pounds of fat off of it.
And then do you grind that up? You talked about this last week. Do you grind it up? And
I didn't this time.
It?
It was late and I was not in the mood, and
we've all been there, for sure.
yeah. So typically I do.
Yeah.
Typically I'll save it until I've done 3 or 4 briskets, and then I pull all of the grind out of the freezer and
Grind it all up.
And grind it up. But got it trimmed up. Not my best trim. Not like I was actually a little nervous about it. The fat line between the point and the flat was massive.
Really?
Yeah. So I was trying to cut some of that hard fat out for a while, and it was just taking forever. And I kind of had this weird flap on it that wasn't going down. So I wasn't really happy with my trim. But went with it, seasoned it with some Holy Gospel from Meat Church, and then hit it with some additional black pepper.
Interesting. See, I always go Holy Cow with a brisket, but you went with Holy Gospel and black pepper.
I normally would have done Holy Cow. I didn't have any in the cupboard, and I don't want to go get any.
Sure.
And that's really the difference between Holy Gospel and Holy Cow is the amount of black pepper. So I basically used Holy Cow.
Okay. Real quick, just as an aside, brisket trimming, like, it kind of sucks. Like, there's a lot of videos on it on YouTube, and I'll watch them and be like, okay, I'm ready for this. Or I'll even do it along while I watch a video. It's pretty tough. Like, you need a little practice to get it just right and how you want it. And even then, sometimes it's just a mess.
Yeah, I've probably done, I don't know, 30 briskets.
Mm.
And I still have one like this where I was just like, man, what the crap am I doing?
Yeah.
You know, you try and cut away anything that's hard. You cut the edges off where that meat's started to turn brown.
Mm-hmm.
And then you try and take the fat cap down to no more than half an inch across the top of it. And man, I had 2 or 3 spots where I, scalped it and meat was showing through and just wasn't super happy with my trim. But
what do you do with like that mohawk area? You know what I'm talking about? Man. You just chuck the whole thing.
I cut the mohawk off and it goes into my grind.
See, that's what I was I talked about this last time I did a brisket. I was so worried about wasting, but it just wasn't worth it. By the time it cooked up, it was just kind of a waste. So
yeah, no, I hacked the mohawk right off.
Yeah, I just bored it. I love it.
Yeah, so I cut the mohawk off on the back side. I really try and like smooth that out so it's a good.
Because you don't want like hard cut edges, right? You want a round.
Well, yeah. So, and when we talk about briskets, you start talking about like making things aerodynamic. You just want the air to move over it smoothly. Mm-hmm. Like if you've got hard edges, that's fine. Mm-hmm. What you don't want though is like a big lip that then is going to prevent smoke from coming over the top.
Yeah.
So trim that part of the point off. Square up both sides and square up the end. Yeah. And then some people like to cut one of the corners off so they know how to slice the brisket.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
I don't do it.
I've never done that. I've seen it done, but I've never done it.
Yeah, I didn't do it. So, anyways, got it seasoned up, threw it out on the Traeger. I do one of two things. I either run at 180 because I want to go real low and real slow, or I go at 225. Mm-hmm. And it was really cold out the night I was starting to do it, and I turned the knob and I accidentally bumped it.
This was all by accident?
I think it was at 195 or 200, and I was like, well, guess we're going in the middle this time.
We may have just witnessed like the apple falling on his head accidentally and discovering something genius.
Yeah, I was not super excited about this. My meter battery was almost dead. Like everything that said this was going to be a bad cook happened. And I was like, screw it. I threw it out there, made sure the pellets were full, fired it up, covered it with the welding blanket, and I went to bed.
Nice.
I got up, woke up, I don't know, it was probably 3 o'clock, wasn't quite yet to the stall.
How long had it been on at that point?
I put it on about 11 o'clock.
Okay.
So it was, I don't know, 4.5 hours in. And then, let's see, I had meetings at 6:30 Sunday morning, so it was probably about 5:15. It was at 157, and the one cool thing about the meter that I really like is you can see the graph, so like you can see the rate of change on the internal temperature. Mm-hmm. And man, it had been sitting at 157 for over an hour. I was
really?
Yeah. So I was like, we're at the stall.
Does meter tell you ambient temperature too? Like what it is in your grill? You might have me sold on one of those.
We should talk more about it. Mm-hmm. I'm a fan. But so I wrapped it up tight in butcher paper. It had already shrunk in size, probably at least by a third, if not by a half. Like it just went whoop, which was really surprising me how much it had shrunk up.
Yeah.
Wrapped it up, put it on, went to my meetings, went to church, came home, and it came off probably about 11:15, 11:30.
Okay.
It had, once it hit 195 internal, I started to probe it for tender. Mm-hmm. 203 is the magic number. I think if it hits 203, you're always safe to take it off. But I've learned, especially with the primes, for some reason, it may be 198 and be when you poke that probe into the meat and it just slides around like warm butter.
Yeah.
I pulled it out.
So total cook time 12-ish hours.
Yeah, 12.
And you never bumped the temperature. It stayed right at 200. Or 190, is that what you said?
I think I turned it up to 225 when I wrapped it.
Okay.
But basically sat at the same temperature.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't a big bump up.
Right.
And then I took a page out of your book. You talked about doing this with a pork shoulder.
Yeah.
I wrapped it, paper and all, in saran wrap. And just wrapped that sucker up. As tight as I could, put a whole bunch of layers on it. It was actually kind of impressive. The heat from the brisket was filling the saran wrap like a balloon.
Huh. Really?
Yeah.
That's
like
awesome.
I was like,
You're like, no.
don't do that. Wrap it tighter. So I did that and I put it in a cooler and we ate at 4:00 that night.
So like a
4.5
hour rest. Right on.
Yeah. And man, it was delicious.
Do you think it's because it was prime, or do you think it's because of the way you cooked it?
I think it was a mix of all of the above.
Yeah.
I think the prime helped. And I've had prime where it's dried out super fast. I think this was a high-fat prime, which was helpful. But honestly, I think it was the saran wrap at the end more than anything.
Really, just part of the resting
keeping
process.
All of the juices in there as tight as it could be. I think that was a huge impact.
That makes sense, because I feel like when you put it in a cooler, even if you've got a towel in there, like you lose a lot of moisture just with it leaking through the paper or whatever. So I wonder, interesting.
Yeah. So that's
Saran wrap for the rest.
Yeah, I think that's my new go-to.
Yeah.
Plus, I've got like a 3,000-foot roll of saran wrap that I have no idea how I'm going to get rid of if I don't start doing this.
I got one of those once to wrap Whitney's car in saran wrap when we were dating. It was the best, dude. It's my favorite thing. It's gone now. We've used it for several moves, but it was awesome.
I'm talking about like true plastic food wrap.
Oh, no, I'm talking about
I think you're
shrink
talking
wrap.
about shrink
Yeah.
wrap.
Mm-hmm. It was awesome. I'd still use it to wrap a brisket in.
I've got some. That's actually a pretty good idea.
That's the thing. I got some saran wrap to do those pork shoulders. And pork shoulder's not the same size as a brisket, so it wasn't a huge deal. But I was like, man, I wish I had that.
Had the
wide, and could just, I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's that's a good call out. Yeah, no, I just, mine's only, it's the normal width, but it's one of the Costco ones.
Yeah.
That's got the cool slider across the top.
Yeah. See, I need some of that. I went looking on the day that I did those pork shoulders. I went looking for something like the extra wide foil you can get, but I couldn't find anything like that saran wrap wise. Maybe it doesn't exist.
The extra wide foil, the extra wide heavy duty Costco or Sam's Club foil is an absolute must if you own a smoker.
Totally worth it. Totally worth it.
So,
yep.
But since we've got the setup, I thought it'd be fun.
Let's learn.
Let's pull this up, because I always think this is interesting. You get into one of these questions of, where does this piece of meat come from?
Yeah. I want one of these just to have at my house for each animal that I enjoy eating.
Yeah, and I hope I'm not screwing anything up by doing that. This is all.
While you figure that out, have you seen Waterboy?
My mama says. My mama says.
Do you remember when she invites Mr. Coach Klein over for dinner and they're eating that snake? And he's like, what part of the snake? Well, technically a snake don't have parts.
But if I were to say, probably his knee.
That's what this made me think of.
I support that. So, while keeping this family friendly, the brisket comes from the breast.
Huh.
Or the chest area on the cow.
Yeah.
So when you think about this, and think about the shape and function of this muscle, this is essentially like the pectorals of the cow. Every time it walks, this muscle gets used.
Yeah.
Like, this is not a nice tender cut like the tenderloin that's buried in the middle that sees very little use.
And is tender and delicious.
Tender as a mother's love.
So each cow has 2 briskets then?
It has a... I guess I don't know that. Because it's in the pectoral area.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've got 2. I've always been under the impression that there's just one.
See, that would make sense. It's just one piece, but just thinking about the size of a cow and the size of a brisket, I'm gonna look it up. You keep talking.
Look it
I'm
up.
sorry.
No, that's great. And you can, when you go to buy a brisket, you can buy it. There are 3 different cuts that you can buy. You can buy the flat, which is the lean portion of the brisket that typically has. You typically see it in sandwiches when you see someone take a long, narrow slice of a brisket and they're hanging it over their finger, showing how tender it is. Mm-hmm. That's typically from the flat. And then there's the point, which has got a lot of intermuscular fat in it. And those two sit on top of each other. And like I was talking about before, there's a layer of fat between those. And you can buy those separate and independent of each other.
Have you ever done that?
I one time bought a whole brisket. What I thought was a whole brisket was labeled as a whole brisket, and it was 2 flats, and I was pissed.
Oh, yeah. Bummer.
I love the point.
I'm a point fan myself. I love just the shreddiness.
Yep. So I'm a big fan of the point. Or the way you typically buy it when you're doing big barbecue, you buy it as a whole brisket, or they'll call it a packer brisket. It's normally in cryovac. And it is a big cut of meat. It is, I don't know that I've ever seen a bigger cut of meat in the meat case than the brisket.
What about those rib roasts around the holidays? Those get pretty big, don't they?
Yeah, I guess that's true. The rib roast is...
I've never bought one of those, but they seem like they're pretty big.
Yeah.
What is... There are 2 briskets. This is from Weber.com, not a sponsor yet. There are 2 briskets on the steer. They come from the breast or lower chest of the animal and are located just below the chuck. These muscles are used a lot and carry a great deal of the animal's weight.
There you go. I have no idea how that thumbs up showed up on the screen, but well done, Mike.
Yeah.
Well done.
Well, thank you.
So, yeah, so that's where the brisket comes from, and that's part of the reason you really have to go low and slow, because if you cook this thing too fast, it's going to be a brick, and
yeah,
you're going to be gnawing on it.
This is not a steak. You do not want to fry both sides and cut into it. But that article kept saying, like, the connective tissues are what is delicious as they break down, because they tenderize everything, and
yeah, fat is
that's
flavor.
done slowly
through
the stall and all those things.
Yeah, and that's one of the cool parts about barbecue, that everyone wants to go fast, get to it quick. Not on barbecue.
No.
Like, the longer you spend in the stall, that 160 degree temperature, that's the magic temp. Like, that's when all the fat's starting to render down. The connective tissues, the tendons, the sinews, all of that are literally dissolving and making the meat more tender. So the longer you stay there, the better you are.
Yeah, that's where the chunk of muscle becomes meat and deliciousness.
Yeah,
for sure.
So, yeah.
I like that. I like being able to look at things and talk about it.
I know. It's kind of cool, huh?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Technology, people. It's
Hooray.
pretty awesome.
Also, AI.
Yeah.
But
technology is not perfect.
Oh.
Should I tell the sad story of our friend?
Oh, man.
We won't use names.
But you know who you are, and you have our sympathy.
Because he doesn't know that I'm telling the story on a podcast to everybody. But he just got a smoker after years of harassment and torture from me every time I drive past his house and see him. He texted me earlier this week, last week, and said, "Hey, I finally got one."
Nice.
And we don't know what happened. He went to cook ribs, was planning on a 3 or 4 hour cook at 225, put his ribs on, went back to work, came home, and the video he sent me makes my heart hurt.
It's one of the worst things I've ever seen.
I don't know I've ever seen anything burnt this bad come off of a smoker.
I just feel terrible.
His smoker somehow, when he got home, was running, what did he tell me? At 475.
Yeah.
So it was running at almost 500 degrees. And We'll have to put this on
Yeah.
on Instagram.
It's tough. It's tough.
It's hard to watch, folks.
Sensitive viewers, be warned. It's difficult to watch.
His poor ribs are charcoal.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what else to call. It's not like
It's
that
sad.
they're burnt. Like I've had briskets go bad and like you just pick it up and like it's stiff like a board.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's kind of like beef jerky. Like you could cut into it, you could eat it if you like.
Yeah.
There's nothing left here.
This is like the fruit on Moana when the blackness starts taking over the island and they bite into it and it just turns to ash.
Yeah, like he's pushing on it and it's not like breaking. It's just disintegrating.
Oh, man.
I have never seen something like this.
No, I feel
I'm watching it now.
Feel
and
terrible.
It's breaking my heart.
feel terrible for the pigs that had to die. Feel terrible for him. Feel terrible for the community. We all mourn a good set of ribs like that.
Yeah. So it's
sure.
just, as much as we talk about pellet grills being set it and forget it and walk away.
Yeah.
And like, that's the way it should be. Like,
Yeah.
you really should be. This was a new
And
grill.
usually you can.
Yeah. This was a new grill. There's a lot of things that he's trying to figure out what happened there. But, maybe a moment of silence for the ribs. Is that wrong?
No, I think that's perfectly reasonable.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
We're going to hell.
Well, at least we'll be able to barbecue down there, right? There's
Right.
fire everywhere.
We're going to have to learn the hot and fast method on a brisket.
For sure.
But, Mike, anything you got planned? We've kind of have an off week. I mean, it's a Pro Bowl, but I'm not going to be watching a ton of football this weekend, I don't think. Last weekend, should we talk football for a minute?
Let's do it. It's amazing.
Both games, I was like, did not go either way that I expected them to.
Mm-mm.
I mean, I was rooting for Coach Reed.
Mm-hmm.
Proud.
Did not expect that dominant of a performance from
Yeah.
the Chiefs this year.
It
It was pretty awesome.
They showed up and they were angry.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how else to describe that.
Well, listening to the New Heights podcast, that's exactly how they were.
I haven't
Like,
listened
they
to
were
today.
angry.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But, yeah, I mean, Mahomes and Kelsey just came out.
Yeah.
And is it Rice? Is that the other guy?
Rasheed Rice.
Rasheed Rice he had a bunch of awesome receptions.
It was crazy. I mean, their defense is good, but they shut down this year's most likely MVP, did really well.
Yeah.
The other game, my boy's a Lions fan,
Ooh.
and it was hard.
That had to be. I don't know what happened.
He was in tears, and I was like, oh, buddy. It was pretty sad, but
Is this D?
yeah. He got all Lions merch for Christmas, and he had it all on, and he was so excited because they jumped out to a pretty dominant lead in the first half, up by 17, I think.
Yeah, I think they scored 3 touchdowns in the first quarter.
Yeah, it looked really good, and
then I don't know what happened.
I don't know either.
The other 3 quarters of the game, it was not the same team that we've been watching all year.
Yeah, it was a bummer. NFL script, man. The conspiracy theorists are all over it.
Dude, I don't know. The 49ers came out, though, in the second half. You could tell somebody lit a fire in that locker room.
And I love the Brock Purdy story. I'm all about it. So it was hard watching my boy go through that, but I was pretty happy to see him come back and win and all that stuff. So anyway.
Yeah. But, I mean, there were some wild plays in both games. I mean,
yeah.
In the Chiefs game, Jackson threw a pass. It was tipped, and he caught the pass.
Yeah, that was
kept going. I was like, I've never seen a quarterback.
That does not happen.
Yeah, I've never seen a quarterback throw a pass to himself.
Well, he got tipped and went up 30 feet in the air, and he just watched it and caught it and kept running.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
It was wild. And then was it? No, it was the Chiefs game where they had a fumble recovery into the end zone for a touchback.
That was wild.
And then another turnover in the end zone.
And then the Niners game, Purdy threw it. it bounced off the defender's face mask, and Ayuk just caught it and kept should have been an interception, but turned into an awesome play.
Yeah.
For like 50 yards. So.
Yeah, I know there's all these conspiracy theories out there about the NFL controlling which teams. There are a couple of plays there. I don't care how many times you practiced it.
Yeah.
There's no way you could have.
That's what I think too. This is not WWE.
Yeah, the strip on the goal line in the Chiefs game.
Yeah.
Like, there is no way you couldn't have set that up.
Yeah.
To practice it.
That was crazy.
Yeah, there was some amazing athleticism shown.
Yeah.
But,
so if you don't like football, you should watch some football because it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, but this weekend it's the Pro Bowl. I've never been a huge fan.
I never have either, and now they don't even play a game; they just do flag football and skills challenges. So.
Well, yeah, it's because it's like the loser teams are.
Yeah.
Because nobody from the Chiefs or the Niners is going to show up to play. Like
right.
They can't afford to risk getting hurt.
Right.
So now it's just everybody else that wants
just going on vacation.
It's not even in Hawaii anymore, is it?
I don't think so.
I think it's in Florida this year.
Yeah, that seems right.
So, yeah, they're going to go on a beach vacation and get drunk, and there's nothing to watch this weekend.
Yeah.
But the Super Bowl's coming. You remember those beaver nuggets?
Yes.
I found a copycat beaver nuggets recipe.
Oh, right on.
And I'm going to smoke those suckers.
You're going to smoke them?
I'm going to smoke them.
Interesting. Okay.
So we're going to have smoked beaver nuggets.
Nice.
In a couple of weeks here.
I'm interested.
So that's going to be my big smoke. I froze part of the brisket that we cooked this week so we can do... I don't know if we're going to do jalapeno poppers with it or nachos or what, but we'll pull the brisket back out and use it for that. But what about you?
We're doing a mac and cheese bar.
Oh, that's right, the mac and cheese bar.
And let me run this by you for the first time ever. I'm wondering about trying some of those pork belly bites that people do, like candied pork belly. Cut them up into squares. Have that as like a throw in your mac and cheese type of deal.
Pork belly burnt end?
Yeah, that.
Like an elevated hot dogs and macaroni and cheese?
Yes. Yeah.
Support it.
That's what I'm wondering. So I've done zero research on this yet and have not purchased it or anything. I'm reserve the right to change my mind as I often do, but I'm kind of excited about it. Excited at the prospect of it.
Yeah. No, I've done pork belly before.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard amazing things. I don't even know if I've ever had it, but I've heard really good things.
Yeah. We've done homemade bacon with it.
You told me that. Yeah.
I've also just cut it up and cooked it. I mean, the lard cap on it, that was one of the things in Peru. People would take the lard cap and they'd cut it up into chunks, and it's pork rinds basically is what it is. So they'd be throwing it and frying it out there in the streets, yelling "Chicharrones," and I would.
And you'd come running.
I would come. Even then, when I was a skinny, parasitic, walking
infested
missionary. Yeah, man. Me and Steve, my worm, we had a lot of chicharrones.
Nice.
So, but, well, until next time. Is that where we're at?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're on the same page.
We've got to work on this transition out.
We really do. It's rough every time.
Until next time, guys. I'm John.
I'm Mike.
We're Fat Guys with Smokers. Thanks for listening to the Fat Guys with Smokers podcast. Be sure to check us out on Instagram and Facebook. Leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Be sure to subscribe so you don't forget to tune in for even more nonsense from a couple of Fat Guys with Smokers.
Don't forget to subscribe.